Hello and welcome to lecture 6 about text mining with Python. So in the second lecture, we will cover some applications of using Python for text analysis. Well, until now in the first lecture, you've covered some basics, the basic syntax, what variables are, how texts are represented in Python. And in these lectures, we will go and discuss some more useful applications and show you how Python can be used for research purposes. And again, all the materials are mostly in the notebooks, and this video is just a brief introduction to the materials, um, just to get you up to speed. So in notebook 4, which is in front of us, here we will discuss the basics of text processing with Python. And basically it's how to go from a string, so you know that the text in Python is a string, a sequence of characters, and how to transform this string into more useful units and get more information from this string. So firstly, we will discuss how to get from a sequence of characters to a sequence of tokens. So how to split your text into more useful entities, units. And one important thing is in these notebooks is that we will work with actual historical data. So you will always need to import your data into the Colab notebook. And for this, we prepared some codes. If you go down here, you see these cells, and you should always run these cells before before continuing with this notebook. So I will, again, like say, run anyway. So in this example, we just load one file, which is a sonnet of Shakespeare, into Colab. And you can see if you click here on this folder, there's now a folder called working data with this Shakespeare text in it. And see, we can print the content of this sonnet. So the important thing here is that you should always import this data before continuing with all the rest of the exercise and code. It's also important to know that what often happens in Colab is that your runtime gets interrupted and Colab will delete all the data you've imported and all the variables you created earlier. So each time this happens, you should actually run the code. You should at least run the cells and better just run all the previous code cells to make sure everything is in place so you can continue properly. This happens very often in Colab. So if you take a break or you see that your runtime is interrupted, just re-import this data and everything should be fine. Um, so let's continue with the actual content of this course. So after importing data, we will discuss tokenization, as you see here. And in this lecture, we also discuss multiple libraries that help you with text processing. So one good thing about Python is it comes with a lot of tools, additional tools also created by other people, and this will make some tasks really much easier. So as tokenization, you will see how you can just import a function that does this for you, so you don't have to do it yourself. Um, and also, please note in this notebook there are these hidden cells, so this Colab collapses some of the material. So always click on these hidden cells to see the full notebook. So first, we use one library called Natural Language Toolkit for text processing. Then we also we show some Spatie functionalities that can also do more advanced text processing. We do some lemmatization in Spatie and also, for example, part of speech tagging. So in this notebook, you basically learn how to process one document and apply some NLP tools to this document. In the second notebook of this lecture, notebook 5, we go from processing one document to working with a larger corpus. So basically what we will do here, we demonstrate how you can use Python to filter and select data from a larger corpus. And this is often what you would like to do as a historian, because you don't need all the data. Often you just would like to create a specific subcorpus or subsample some text which are more relevant to your research question. And we show you how you can filter and select data based on different criteria. So we discuss metadata. For example, the timestamp or the date of publication of the document is often encoded in the metadata. And you can use this to select documents based on, for example, a time range. So give me all articles that are published between those and these dates. But you can also use the content of a corpus to select data. For example, does this word contain those? Does this document contain these words or not? So there are multiple ways, and especially the combination of using metadata and content for selecting and filtering data is quite powerful to create like a targeted and high value corpus. So for example, you will see here when you work with newspaper data, most newspaper articles won't be relevant for you, but combining these two filters like metadata and content, you can actually create like a meaningful subcorpus from a collection that is more like a corpus that is closer to your research question and research interests. And we also touch upon regular expressions quickly in this notebook. So this is quite a powerful query or pattern matching technique that allows you to filter, like select a document based on like quite complex queries. But we only touch on this very lightly, but this is a quite important topic, and we provide some links for you to investigate this a bit more because it's often quite useful for research. So in this notebook, you learn how to create a corpus, or better, create a subcorpus. And then once you have your data selected, you would like to explore it. And this is what is a topic of notebook 6, corpus exploration. And it, here we discuss a few techniques, and some we've already seen in nconc. And these techniques allow you to kind of say something like investigate your data a bit more closely or more from a distance. So you learn how to do keyword and context search with Python, but also how to compute your collocations. And I think it's important here to say, like, I think the main difference with nconc here is that actually what you do in Python, you build a whole program to do this analysis, and actually you also make it more reproducible. So for example, all the steps of your research process, like the selection of your texts, the processing. So for example, do you want to only have lemmas? Do you want to remove certain words? Do you want to have part of speech as part of your of your corpus? All these texts are taken part of by Python and can be part of one program as well as the analysis. So you can do all the steps from selection, processing to, for example, computing collocations as part of one program. And then even though it is a bit more effort to set it up, once you have set it up, you can just click and all your results will be easily reproduced. And also all your choices and all your research design is encoded in your program. So even though using Python is more difficult at the beginning, it makes your research more robust and reproducible on the long term, and you don't have to click all the time to an interface to reproduce your results or to do your analysis. So it is more a time investment at the beginning, but after a while it will pay off. I can assure you this. So in the last notebook, so in this the last part of this notebook, we'll also touch on feature selection, which basically is a technique. So if you have two corpora, or you would like to compare two corpora, you often like to know which words are indicative or a characteristic of one corpus compared to the other corpus. And this can be called also feature selection. So and we discussed some ways of doing this in Python, and you will see this is actually quite easy, because again, there are libraries that help you with this, and you can just feed it a lot of feature library, a lot of text, and it will help you finding those significant or indicative words for a certain corpus. So, and then the last notebook focuses on trends over time, and we use the political manifestos here. And again, like I think as a historian, you're always interested in changes over time. So here we discuss in more detail how you can use timestamps, which are often part of the metadata, how you can use those timestamps in your analysis, and have time as a dimension in your text analysis. So you can study how the content of your corpus changes over time, which is, I think, a very useful application of text mining for historians, a basic one, but a useful one. So again, I'd say I hope you enjoy these materials, and please explore them. And as said also in the first video, take your time, Don't try to understand everything at once, but maybe go through them and go through them again and see, and by doing so, you will get a better understanding of how to use Python for text analysis. Thank you very much.